Hello, everyone. I'm Christine Schiavone, and our show is Spiritual Exploration. I'm sitting here with Marty the Psychic, and she is going to tell you, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of interesting stories to hear from her. She's going to tell you about how she started, how she realized she was a psychic, and different experiences that were maybe out of the ordinary that she has had. So, without further ado, I introduce you to Marty the Psychic.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be here. I'd like to share with you some of my life experiences, how this all began. People will say, when did it all start, Marty? And what I tell them is, I had an older brother who I was very close to. I was 5 and he was 15, and he died during a polio epidemic.
Ah,
Yeah, in about a day and a half kind of thing. And my mom, of course, being a mom, she was inconsolable. And I would go into her room because I was having dreams of my brother, vivid dreams every night. But he would say to me, he called me Peanut, and he would say in the dream, Peanut, I'm with so-and-so, let's say the name's Giuseppe Verdi, whatever. And I, of course, didn't know who these people were, and I would wait and go into my mom's room and say, Mom, my brother was in my dream. He's with so-and-so, so-and-so. Unbeknownst to me, because they never let me know that my grandmother and her 2 sisters had this mediumship gift also, that they were, in fact, all my grandmother's relatives that had passed on. Okay? So I kind of, they never really explained what I had. Of course, maybe they thought I was too young, whatever. And what had happened, what really scared the life out of me, I was 11 years old, and I kept what I would do. I became school phobic because my brother left. He never came back that day, and I just thought if I left the house and went to school, I'd never return, So what happened was I would read the Cheerio box. I would put the Cheerio box every morning in front of me and stall not to go into school. And my sister, who she would bring me to school because my mom and dad were in business, and, it was her job to bring me. So I would annoy her every day because I didn't like going to school. So this one particular morning, my mom is in the kitchen, and she's going, you're going to make your sister late. Just get ready. Stop with the Cheerio box. And I says, no, today I cannot go. I can't go. And they said, why? I said, well, it's the school. Like, a lot of nuns are going to die. All the kids are going to die. There's going to be a big fire. Stop making up stories. Get dressed and go to school. P.S. The next morning, because at that time, you would have the radios that you'd have to just turn on kind of thing.
Yeah.
So she turns on the radio, and she's walking around the kitchen having coffee, whatever. And my sister's going, would you hurry up? Would you hurry up? We have to go. My mother turns on the radio, and it's so weird because it's like a moment in time. I remember it so clearly. On the radio, the announcer is saying, There was a Catholic school that burnt down yesterday
What
in
school was
Chicago,
that?
Illinois.
Oh, in Chicago.
Yeah, it was December 1st, 1958.
Wow.
92 children
Ah.
and 3 nuns were burnt to death.
Oh, no.
But you have to imagine being almost 11 years old and this having happened. I didn't know if I caused it, that I thought that.
No.
I had no idea. How did I know this was going? It was so frightening. So, for a long time, I would just get all bad stuff, nothing ever happy. And it was just as I was growing up, and it would just scare the life out of me with dreams.
What'd your mother say about the fact that you were right?
No one brought it up. I hate
no?
to say it, little old Italian families, you don't talk about this. That's how it was. But they never told me. So in college, I would get into really bad situations. I had told once, I was sitting at, a lunch table, and I see this couple down at the end with all their friends, and I go over and I said to the girl, you have to stop seeing him. He keeps telling you this is it. He's running around with everyone in the college. Well, I almost got a beating for that. So, it took a long time. And how it really started, that I started to read people seriously, was my son. He was living with us and his wife and my first grandson in order to save for a house. And what had happened was, someone stole his van with all his tools outside of the front of the house.
Oh, my God.
So they had to call the police.
Sure.
So, of course, the police comes, and I call them bad cop and good cop. It was 2 women, and they're doing the report. And I love antiques, right? I have a lot of antiques. And the one good cop, she says to me, do you mind? I love antiques. Could I just look around? I said, yeah, go ahead. Look around. I don't care. Whatever. So as she's walking
This
around.
was in your house.
Yeah. And at that time, I was wheelchair bound for a year and a half. I don't want to go into that. It was just a bad illness. And I brushed past her as she's looking at the stuff. And I turn around and I says, oh, my gosh, honey. And I told her some personal details. I don't want to go into that, but it pertained to her life immensely. And then I said, but listen to me, you have to go into the Bronx tomorrow. Your cousin Marie is having such a hard time, but Aunt Anna, you got to see your aunt, but you have to see her before tomorrow night. You have to go. She says, I can't go. I'm working. I said, do you want to see your aunt? And she just stood there. So the other cop, the little spunky one, the bad cop, she's so cute. We're immense
Still in
friends with them.
Yeah.
But she goes, oh, really? She says, yeah, look, she must know. She goes, first she goes, yeah, if you could tell her something, yeah, if you really have this gifts, because
Tell me something.
yeah, tell me something, right? So she's standing there, and I says, oh, I said, your cousin, I think, is his name Billy, your cousin. I have a message. It's from his twin brother, and he's confessing. He's saying he's so sorry for what he did. As it turned out, he had committed suicide, and he was
boy.
apologizing
And he
to
was
her.
a twin.
And he was a twin, apologizing to her. So she's going, oh, well, you must know their last name. So her partner goes, listen, look at your badge. You don't have the same last name as your cousin. So they were like kind of taken back by the whole thing.
Sure.
2 days later, I love candles. I have a lot of candles in the house.
Okay.
2 days later, my husband says, Marty, those 2 cops that were here, they're walking up the sidewalk with these big white candles. So they get on the porch and they said, we had to bring this back to you. And I says, what do you mean? And they said, we wanted to give this to you because her cousin feels so much more at peace that his brother came through for him. But I went to see my aunt, and she said she died the next night. If you hadn't told me that, I wouldn't have
She wouldn't have seen her alive again.
So with that, they said, we were telling the detectives about you, blah, 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 whatever. They'd like you, would you help them with some cases? So that's how the police were
That's
started.
how you got involved with the police.
That's how the police stuff had started.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yep.
They must have gone back and told other police and higher ups.
Yep. And it was really, I'm thinking, because what happened then, I worked with the detectives and I did do a few cases with the FBI.
And did you find people that were missing?
Found bodies.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I did find children in other states that had run away.
That had run away
that had run away.
ended up getting killed.
No, they were still alive.
Oh,
two of
that
them.
was good.
Yeah, so their parents, but most of them, unfortunately, it's closure for deaths.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's just what happens.
It's a shame, especially when it's children.
And then I just started from that. People would call and they would say, this cop had told me to call, and I started doing private readings, which I still do. I'm booked into 2026. I have no
Whoa.
life. I have no life.
I'll bet.
But anyway, whatever. And then what happened, my husband, he worked, he was an x-ray tech, and he worked in the hospital, and doctors got wind of this, what I did.
Oh.
And they would start calling. And he worked in the OR and the ER. And they would call, and a few surgeons had called, and they wanted to know if they were making the right diagnosis.
Wow.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, and two of them are outstanding, and one of them I'll never forget because they had the wrong diagnosis, and thank God it saved that person's life.
Really?
Yeah, but I mean, everyone can make mistakes.
Of
you
course.
know, and they were.
Hey, we're only human, right?
Right. And then I'm trying to think. People will say, what's the symbolism? How does it come through? And it's really strange because sometimes what happens, I'll start a reading, and I may say to you, let's say your cousin Dennis died, okay? We'll just use that name.
You could, because I don't have a cousin.
Dennis.
But go ahead.
Yeah. So I might say, your cousin Dennis is coming through, and it was December, and it's usually the exact name with the date they died.
So on the anniversary, in other words.
Yes, that's what'll come out, so that they'll know who's speaking to me. They're identifying themselves for who's sitting before me.
So they'll know exactly who it is.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think. They come through with dates, like birthday dates or even their children's name if
To
they
prove it's
died
them.
young. Yeah. Don't mind me, my memory. I have to turn the page.
That's all right.
My notes.
Do what you have to do.
Or else I'll get off track.
Now, I
and
have
talk
had
a
other
lot.
guests that brought notes.
Yeah, I'm trying to think too. This is crazy. I had a retired sergeant, and he had called in a panic from upstate that he had lost his gun. And he had no idea where it was. And I found the gun over the phone. Yeah.
Where was it?
Yeah. Actually, it was in his house, in his attic, in a box that was underneath everything else. And
How
he said,
could
"There's
that
no way I
happen?
would never hide it. I'm not going up in the attic. I would never put it in the attic like that." I said, "Would you just please do me a favor and go up?" Of course, he was stubborn, and his wife went up and found the box, and there was the gun.
Now, this was the gun that he was presently using?
Yes.
And somehow it ended up in a box in the attic,
attic.
and they don't know how?
It's kind of wacky sometimes.
Oh,
but,
sure.
you know,
It gets
whatever
very
works.
wacky. I mean, don't forget, you're dealing with the spirit world. Anything can happen.
Oh, yeah. And then I also, because my husband worked in the ER, one day I get a call. And I had told my husband, because a lot of times in the hospital, people will say, "Could you just call your wife and ask her this, ask her that, whatever?" And I would say, I'm doing readings at home. That's a job. And I was also a therapist, and I was still doing therapy. So what would happen would I would tell him, don't call me today. So this one particular day, when I told him not to call me, I get this call. "Marty, yeah. No, I didn't want to bother you, but my fellow worker, we'll call her Dawn, my fellow worker, she lost something. Could you please help her? She's in a panic." I said, "Joe."
This was your husband calling you? Okay.
"Joe, I told you not to call today. I'm so busy." I said, "But wait a minute. She lost a bracelet?" "No." I'm going like this. And I'm saying, "No, she lost a ring." I says, "Put her on the phone." So I started asking her if this is her couch. And I gave her the color of her couch in her home. And I kept saying that there was, the metal when they used to put the rugs
frame?
down, the frame. Yeah. So I'm talking about the frame, and I said, wait a minute. I said, that thing on the floor. No, follow it, Marty. And I'm going, yeah, let me see. The couch is here. Let me follow it. And I got to the door, and it was the door to her bedroom. And I said, wait a minute. If you walk right in there, sliding doors. I said, she has to just look down. It's under the
Door
under the
in the frame?
in the frame, but it's in the frame under her bedroom closet. Oh, her bedroom closet. And what had happened was the next day, in fact, no, that night she called Joe at home and she
Found
said,
it. So it must
"Bingo."
have fallen off her finger, fell into the crevice of the,
Of the
where the
rug.
door goes.
And they will probably walk, who knows, but yeah. So, it's kind of like people will often say, well, how does this come to you? What is it? It's almost as if I feel as if it just comes from within. And when I was a very small girl, the one thing that I remember my Nona, my grandma who had this, she used to tell me, you have to pray to St. Teresa. And I would say, St. Teresa? With the roses. And I would say, well, why? And she would say, to make you a strong woman, because you're going to have a gift that you need to be strong. You pray to her, And people will say, well, how do you do this? This must be. And I just say, I think for some reason, God gave me a gift, and I'm just supposed to help.
Use it. That's right.
closure,
Use it to help people.
You know.
Because that's what we're here for, to help
How else
others.
would you explain it?
Yeah.
I can't know the things I know. It has to come.
So in other words, you really can't explain it.
No, it's like it's I'm very. It sounds silly. My sons used to tease me, Ma, you're like this little old Italian lady that goes to church every morning. I says, but you don't understand. Some of the cases I work on, too, I need to be protected,
Oh, of
so
course.
they would laugh, but what do you do in church every day? I go to pray. Leave me alone.
Do you go to church every day?
I usually try, yeah.
You try? Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I just did, and I think it sort of breaks up all the stress.
Oh, I'm sure.
It's a
because
lot
you're
of
sitting
stress.
there, and you're in God's presence,
Yeah.
and
yeah.
that's what. And I know that He helps you with that.
Oh, he does. He does. Let me see. This is a crazy one. Yeah, this is a crazy story. You probably like it. I had someone come from one of the hospitals, and she was a physician's assistant. And I started doing a reading, and what I did tell her was that I kept saying, how come I'm seeing Manhattan? I says, wait, I feel like I'm on the top of a roof, and I'm looking right over to the towers in Manhattan.
You saw the towers.
Yeah, and I kept saying to her,
This
oh,
is
my God.
before
but this-
9/11.
Yeah. I said, wait a minute. I said, there's a building just like yours. It's a little over from you. I said, did you ever hear of Bay Street Landing? And she says, that's where I live. I says, okay. I says, but, oh, my God. I said, you have to protect yourself. Someone was trying to shoot you
Whoa.
from the building next to you.
Wow.
And it was
Anybody in particular with a reason?
it was someone who was working with her, and it wasn't, well, she was in a situation she shouldn't have been in, and this other person wanted to take her out. And
Have to
she
do
didn't
with
realize.
a person that the person was with. And
Yes. Yep.
I don't know how I
Crazy.
picked that up.
You got it.
I got it.
You're a good detective. No. But anyway, what happened was I had told her that you really need to have the police involved because he will be on that building in 2 nights from now.
And he's not.
They
gonna-
got
he's
him
not-
2 nights from now
Really, the person was there with a gun,
with the gun,
waiting.
ready to shoot her on
Wow.
the roof.
So then, what happened after that? He got arrested.
Oh yeah, the whole 9 yards.
I wonder if he wound up going to jail for that, because that could be considered
Yes.
attempted murder.
It was attempted murder.
Yeah.
Yep. So that was, but I thank God because here she is helping so many people as a physician's assistant, trying to help the world. And you know,
And somebody's out to get
out
her.
to get her.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, so I always felt good because she helped so many other people. It would have been such a loss.
She could have been
to
dead.
others,
Yeah, she
too.
could have ended up
She was
dead.
sweet. She was sweet. Let's say. Oh, and then you would probably, I think you would remember this. Woman came to me, and I started reading her, and I kept feeling like I was falling from the ceiling. I was just, and I'm making this motion.
On a ceiling, falling from the ceiling
Yeah.
in the room.
Yeah, I'm in my kitchen, and she's sitting like we're face to face, and I'm telling her, "Oh my gosh, wait a minute!" I said, "This is terrible." I says, "I feel like, oh, it's knocked my ceiling out. I feel like I'm being thrown. It's above the trees, above the trees, above." And I'm going like this, and I'm going, "Oh my God, I think I'm dying." I died on the way down. I said, "Wait a minute, who is this?" And I gave her the name of her nephew who died in the crane that fell off the building in Manhattan.
Really?
She was so devastated, but he continued to say stuff to her about his family and who to
So she knew who
send.
it was.
Yeah, and it gave her closure because she was so brokenhearted, and he was mentioning all the family and who he
Yeah,
wanted
yeah.
her to acknowledge.
Tell me, do you ever have out of body experiences?
For myself, no, not
No,
really.
no.
Not really. No, no. Well, I think once I did, and it was before I really knew so much about what I was doing, kind of, and I was in my grandmother's house, and she was in one of those big old houses. Years ago, they would call them almost railroad type of layouts.
Yeah, right.
Right. And I remember I was near her kitchen, but I thought I was in the living room, which was all the way down the hall and in the front. And it was kind of crazy because my cousin had died, and her room was like right adjacent to where the living room was in the front. And for some reason, I thought I was with her in that room, but I was really in the back. But it's almost like you can't feel yourself.
Yeah,
It was a little weird.
I'll bet.
And I was young.
Yeah.
You know, so it was kind of scary. It was scary. It was.
Do you remember the first experience you had at knowing something? Was that the school thing?
Yeah, but that was just, I was petrified. I was only 10 going on 11.
So that's about the age that you started feeling.
I know, but I thought something was wrong with me.
Ah.
I thought something.
Well, you
how
didn't
did
know
I-
that
I
there were
made this
other
happen,
people in the
you know?
family that had the gift.
No, and I was never told. In fact, all my cousins knew. They knew what my grandma did. I didn't find out what she really was doing. I'll never forget it because I was screaming at my mother.
What was she
My
really
mom-
doing?
Yeah, my mom was she was maybe 88 years old, and she used to stay up at night. When I would read people, she would never go to bed until they left the house. Even
Really?
if it was like 11:30 at night, whatever, she would stay there. So one night I said to her, I said, "Ma, I don't understand this. Why do you do this? You stay up? You don't have to stay up." "Oh, no.
She wants to make
That's
sure
what
all
my
the
father-"
energy is gone.
And you know what she said? She said her father, when my grandma used to read, my Nona, he used to stay up until everyone left the house. He said, so she goes, "So that's what I was doing." I said, "Wait a minute. You waited. You are 88 years old. What are you talking about? Grandma had this? Your mother?" And she says, "Yeah." I says, "Why didn't you ever tell me that?"
And you were an adult then.
I was an adult. I was like, I want to say, in my 50s. And no one.
And that's
told me.
when you
And my
found out
cousins
that
knew.
other people in the family
No.
had the gift.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, my
Somebody
son.
should have told you before that.
It's crazy because my son, excuse me, my son, he's an artist and he won't use it. He says, "Ma, I use it through my hands in my art."
In other words, he
he's
has the
scared.
gift also.
Yeah, and he'll say to me like, I'm not as as spiritual as you. I don't go to church that much at all. He says, I can't do that. So what I'll do is I'll paint. I'll paint what I'm feeling. And that's what he does. But my grandson, my middle grandson, he's 24, but he's had it since he was,
So it kind of
about
runs in the
2
family,
years
huh?
old. Yeah, and now my niece's daughter, she started when she was a year and a half in the crib,
Really?
and my niece would send me, Aunt Marion, I'm scared. Look at the orbs all around her in the crib.
She saw the orbs, but
Yeah,
nobody
but
else
then
did.
the little girl, she was a year and a half, Giada, and what happened was, it's crazy. She's, walking around like a little baby. She was so cute. And she saw my mom's picture. Now, my mom was dead. There's
But at
no way
that
she
point.
could have known. She picks up the picture and she goes to my niece, my poor niece. She almost passed out. She goes, Mommy, Rose, that was my mother.
That
She
was my
never knew
mother's
her, and
name
she was
was
in the
Rose.
picture. Yours too? This sweet. But the kid was like, there's no way she could have known who she was. No one ever spoke about her. She was just
And at a year and a
picture
half,
on
well, how would she even understand?
No. Yeah. So she has it also, and I guess I don't know so much if she'll use it that much, Like Mario, my son, he's used it with his friends, though. Like if there's a problem, he saw a car accident was going to happen, and he told 2 of his friends, do not get in the car, and God forbid the other 2 were in the car accident.
No, so it happened. Did they die? Ah, what a shame. And he had told them not to go in the car that day.
Yeah. They should have listened. But,
They should have, right?
they're young.
Well, it was, I guess, meant to be that way.
Yeah, I think so. So this is kind of a good question because people will say to me, how does it feel when I read people? And of course, I told you, it kind of comes out like this, but a lot of times I'll get the sound of a bullet. But what it represents in the reading that person who's dying and who died rather and is trying to talk to their relative, it's a suicide. Whenever I hear a bullet, suicide, and I'll know someone's coming through who committed suicide and
Who shot themselves.
or even hung themselves. It's just the symbolism of the bullet is for suicide.
To let you know that.
So that happens, and then I'm thinking, and if it was like a heart attack, I'll usually get pain. I'll get a quick pain, and I'll say, oh, my God, this person is telling me they died
Of a heart
of
attack.
a heart attack or breathing. If it was a lung difficulty there, and I'll know as soon as it happens, and generally, they'll know who it is.
Have you ever predicted somebody that's just, well, you did know when certain people were going to die.
Yes.
Even if it's natural causes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me something. When you're not reading somebody and you're just living your day-to-day life,
Yeah.
okay, how is it? You see things happening?
Oh, yeah. It's like on vacation, on planes. I took it's just, they interrupt. I was trying to sleep on the plane, and my grandson was
We got a
next
lot
to
of
me.
spirits around you there, a lot of
I had
people.
Yeah. So I poked the lady in front of me, and I
Oh,
said,
no.
Yeah, her sister Mary, God forbid, she had died, and she was going to Europe, to Italy.
To
For the
attend
services.
the
Yeah.
funeral.
So, it's almost, it happens in the grocery store.
Yeah, I mean,
The funniest. You want the funniest?
go ahead. We
You
can all
ready for
use a
this?
good laugh, right?
The funniest thing, I had gone to the gynecologist.
Oh, no.
And, you're spread out, so to speak. All of a sudden, I tapped the doctor and I said, wait. It was Dr. Ferragamo, he was the doll. And I said to him, wait. And I believe, I want to say, I think it was his father who was coming through. And he's there, and he's almost crying. And, so you can't stop it. And I always feel like I have to
tell somebody
tell
when
somebody.
something comes up.
How could I not tell him? So
You
yeah.
told him that his father was going to die.
No, his father had just
Already
died,
had just died.
and he wanted to tell him, I'm already at peace.
Oh, well, that was good. That gave him
It's a
some
lot
closure.
of good closure, And then generally, like for reading, what's hard is that could happen randomly, but my readings are an hour long.
Yeah.
So they're filled with like birth dates and names.
All kinds of
all
different
kinds
information.
even dogs, a lot of animals come through.
Oh, I'll bet.
You want to hear a crazy story?
Yeah, go ahead.
This one guy comes to me one night, a nice man, and he's sitting down and the reading. He was upset. He was crying because his grandpa, who had died when he was a kid, came through and was saying how proud of him he was and blah blah blah, all this stuff. So all of a sudden, I'm looking at him and I'm going, oh wait a minute, and animals come through.
Oh yeah, I've had animals come through. I've had my parents come through, and they're with this little brown dog. Oh, that was Skippy.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what happened was, I'm sitting there and I look at the man. I'm going, wait. I said, this is crazy. I said, do you know New Jersey? He said, yeah. I said, no. I said, but this is, wait a minute. I said, do you have almost, it looks like corral fencing around a big yard?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah. I said, well, this is crazy. I said, I'm getting people came past this fence with bow and arrows. I said, your horse is coming through. They killed him with bow and arrows.
Oh no.
He was hysterical crying, but
People
the horse,
actually did that to a horse?
yes,
What
in
is that?
freehold.
Really?
Yes, and he was crying so much, this man. And I said, but he's coming through. For him, in order for them to come through, they already have to be at peace or they won't come through.
An animal or a person?
Or a person. And, it was, that's really why he was there. I know
What if he
came
did
for his
something about
relatives.
these people?
I don't know. I don't know so much as they ever caught them. I don't think they ever caught them.
Well, if they didn't, God did.
Yeah, or it'll come back.
Oh, yeah, it always comes back. What goes around comes
comes
around. Whatever you do comes back to you,
Yep.
good, bad, or indifferent.
Trying to think what else. Let's see. Oh, this is interesting too. I should tell you this. People will come to me sometimes, and in the reading, the person is talking in another language.
But you
But
understand.
I write. As every reading I write, and I give it to you at the end.
Oh,
So I'll start to write, but for me, it's indistinguishable. And what it is, in fact, I wrote in Russian, and I did stuff in Japanese, and
it's
they
like
read it to
automatic
me.
writing?
Yeah, and they'll look down, and I'll say, I don't know, who is this, and what are they saying? And this particular young guy, he said, it's Russian. He said, this is my grandpa. I know what he's telling me. And it happened to an Asian couple, and they were like ecstatic about it. It was Japanese. I don't know how to do any of them.
No.
I don't know how to talk. I just about talk Italian, and I messed that up. But yeah. And then, I do blessings of homes. And
I've done that
assist with
myself. I've had
exorcisms.
homes that wouldn't sell,
Yeah.
that sold very fast after
till you
I did a cleansing.
Yeah, yeah. And then sometimes people will come that, they feel there's a ghost in the house and there is a bad spirit in the house. And
So you're going sage
go
and
in
all
out.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that gets rid of the negative energy.
Yep. All kinds of holy water all over.
Oh, sure.
I leave their spots on the walls, but who cares?
Oh, it's only
It
water.
dries. It dries.
Yeah, it dries.
Right? Yeah. And I think, but I have a lot of regrets too. I have a lot of regrets.
Regrets on readings that you've done?
Well, I think, 9/11, when that had happened,
Oh, boy, I'll bet you were busy that day.
well, a week and a half before,
Uh-oh.
I had a dream that
Oh, boy.
woke me up. Oh, my poor husband woke me up, and I saw it was a ship, though, going into New York Harbor, and the ship, it went right into the towers, and they
ship
came
did?
down.
Wow.
So it was bothering me. And I
Sure.
kept saying, I got a call because,
Something's
like
going
I said,
on.
I did work with the FBI a couple of cases. So I called one of them, and I'm telling him, but you don't understand. Something's going to happen. You have to help me. And he says, Marty, I really don't know. Who are we going to tell and who's going to believe you because you're a psychic? I said, listen to me. You have to help me
That's
with
the reason
this.
to believe you.
You know, so it was, I was, I was, you know, like, how do you, as a medium, how do you sometimes tell people and they're not believing you? What happened, there was another one, and this was horrible. Craziness. I can't even, well, I will. A young girl, this is a good story. This is a good story. What had happened was, again, I felt bad though. A young girl came to me, and she was so happy because she was the first graduate in the family. None of her family had gone to college, and they treated her. One cousin said, "Oh, I'm going to treat you to a psychic reading." So she was all excited, and I'm sitting here and I'm doing this reading, and this kid is ecstatic because it was like, it was her relatives in Dominican Republic, and some of them had passed, and she's like, "Oh, but they're okay, whatever." And I said, "But wait a minute." I said, "Listen to me. I don't know what you did. You did something of great achievement in your family." I said, "And they gave you a gift." I said, "You can't accept the gift." So she's standing there and she's going, "What do you mean I can't?" She said, "They'll be, you know, my parents don't have a lot of money. They saved with our family, with my relatives, to give me this trip. You're telling me don't do this?" I says, "Honey," I said, "wait a minute." And then I got the Dominican Republic, and she's saying, "Why are you saying that?" And I said, "Wait, you're going to the Dominican Republic?" And she said, "Yes." And I said, "You cannot get on the plane." I said, "Do not get on that plane. I don't care what you tell your relatives. You're not to get on." She left.
She
Never
got on-
forget this.
She
Never
got on the
forget
plane.
this. About 3 weeks later, I was reading the whole day, and about 4 o'clock, I'm exhausted. I'm sitting there, and my phone is ringing. Now I never pick up the phone because all my phones on my
You
business
screen
phone,
your calls.
it goes to messages, and then
Right.
they write them down, you
Right.
know, for appointments, whatever. For some reason, had to be God, because I said, I got to pick this. I'm going to pick this up.
Really?
I picked the phone up, and there's someone hysterical crying on the phone. And I'm going, "Oh my God, who is this? Can I help you? Who are you looking for?" Because I didn't know. You know, you just don't know.
Sure.
And she said, "Are you Marty?" And I said, "Yes, I am." She says, "I am calling to thank you from the bottom of my heart as a mother." I said, "Yeah." She said, "You told my daughter
Not to get
not
on
to
the
get on
plane.
a plane. Our whole family insisted that she get on that plane. That, why are you listening to an insane psychic? What, are you crazy? It's really, you know, whatever." And she said, the kid, they all went to the airport, and they're saying, "Go ahead, you go. We paid a lot for this." And it was her girlfriend had a ticket too, was also with her. She gets up to, before the ladder that goes into the what do you call it?
Oh, the walkway?
The
The ramp,
walkway,
yeah,
right?
whatever.
The ramp. And she got there, and they're looking from inside inside the airport. They see her walking back up, furious with her. Absolutely furious. I don't know if you remember. It was the plane that was going to the Dominican Republic, and it was in, trying to think, in Queens. Remember, it went down in Queens?
Was it LaGuardia? Oh, I remember that.
Yeah. She said,
The plane barely took off.
off. Yeah, and I had told her it'd be a short trip, by the way. Don't get on it. Well, her mother said, "I had to call you." She said she was defiant and she wouldn't get on the plane. My daughter's alive. But you know what's crazy? What people...
What about the girlfriend? What about she got on the plane?
No.
Neither one of
Neither one of them got on. So what happened was, you know what it is? It's so hard for me because why couldn't I have saved all the people on that plane?
Well, you know what you would have had to do? You would have had to go there and say, nobody get on this plane. But how could you do that?
Bell Harbor, Queens,
Bell Harbor.
Yes. Okay.
November 11th.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay.
11/11.
Thank you so.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah, the plane was.
So it barely took off. It was only in
Yes.
the air maybe a couple of minutes, and it went down.
Yeah.
I remember Bell Harbor.
Bell Harbor,
Yeah.
Queens, right? Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that was it. Yep. So, you
And
know,
all those people on the plane died.
Yes.
And this girl and her friend didn't get on.
Survived.
And it was headed for the Dominican Republic.
yeah. But, you know, it's like, thank God I saved her. But I always say to God,
It wasn't meant.
but the detectives, again, they said to me, who would have believed you?
That's true.
They would have kept that
And not
plane
only
taken
that, but
off.
how do you know it wasn't God's will that he took all these people at the same
For
time,
some reason.
but left these two girls behind because it wasn't meant for them?
Yeah.
I want to
Yeah.
ask you a question.
Yeah.
On 9/11, did you get a lot of spirits coming into you, telling you things, asking you things, asking you to get in touch with relatives?
Well, the hardest part was I had a friend who died, and
In the
we
World
had
Trade Center?
no idea that he was there.
Yeah.
And when it was happening, like I was so devastated, especially because of the dream about the ship 2 weeks earlier going into those two buildings. And I was freaking out, honestly. And I kept getting, you know, when I saw the firemen, I kept saying, oh my God. I said, no, John can't be there. My friend John wanted to have a short reading before he went to work the morning of 9/11. And this is another big regret.
He had some
Makes
kind of
me
a
hurt.
premonition himself?
Do you know what? He never came to the house because I said, I have readings, John, and I can't see you.
Oh, boy.
So I still live with that because if he had come, he would have never been in that building.
Aw. But once again, it was God's will.
I know.
You know, I mean,
hard.
you see where a whole bunch of people, like on a plane, or the 9/11 incident, you have to ask, this is maybe God wanting all these people to come to him all at the same time,
Yes,
and it was just meant to be that way.
I know.
I mean, not that terrorism is anything to say it was meant to be, but it was God taking all these people into heaven.
Makes you wonder, right? And then, well, another weird thing that had happened, now that I talked about a plane, I just remembered. We had vacationed, I believe it was Martha's Vineyard. Yeah. And we were down at a beach bar.
I was there a couple of summers ago. It was very nice.
Don't you love it there?
Yeah.
And
It was named after a little baby on the ship that was coming in. Her name was Martha, and the captain said, "This is Martha's Vineyard."
Oh, wow.
In 1601. But go ahead.
You got it. Well, we were having cocktails, and we were at this outdoor little bar, and we were having dinner, you know, whatever. And I'm sitting there. It was me, my husband, and my friend Mary. We had all rented a house. So I'm sitting there, and I'm saying to the bartender, this is beautiful, but what plane went down right there? And he said, there was never a plane that went down there. I said, are you sure? I said, not a big plane. I don't mean a big
Private
I
plane.
mean a little small plane. And he's going, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh boy.
Well, the next morning, we were getting ready to go down to the ferry to leave. And my girlfriend Mary had already went into town to have breakfast. She's coming up the hill. And it looked like there was like a lot of activity that we could see going on. She comes up the hill and she says, you know what happened?
A plane went down.
It was John Kennedy.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So
And he went down in Martha's Vineyard. That's probably what his
just
destination.
past there, I believe. I
Really?
think where the plane hit, if I remember. Trying to remember. But it was right outside. It was right. We were right on.
And you were,
Martha's
so in other
Vineyard.
words, you were there when it happened.
Yeah, the night
And
before.
you saw the
I
plane
saw the
go
plane.
down before it went down.
Yeah. And I wonder sometimes, like, why? Why did I have to know that?
Well, yeah, but then not that there would be anything you could do because he and his wife and his sister-in-law would not have not gotten on the plane behind your
Yeah.
say so. So I wouldn't feel bad about that because it was their decision to be on that plane.
Yeah.
Well, you know what it was too. The weather wasn't good, and he was trying to
Get there fast.
not only that, he was trying to run the plane himself.
Yes.
And he was not
He
that
wasn't supposed
experienced,
to. Yeah.
you know?
Yep,
And that's
yep.
what happened.
It was scary. And then I'm thinking, yeah, there was a lot of strange stuff like that. I remember this. I had a really young kid come in for reading, and what a nice kid. And he's sitting across, and I'm doing the reading, and all this stuff is coming through, and he's really happy with what he's hearing. He's getting closure on stuff.
A young
And
kid, meaning about teenager
he
or
must have been, I want to say, a senior in high school or maybe a freshman in college.
teenager
Yeah,
was-
he
yeah.
was so sweet. But all of a sudden, towards the end of the reading, I said, oh, wait a minute. I said, I have to tell you something. Your friend, he's telling me, oh, yeah. I said, wait a minute. He's telling me to tell you, hi, how you doing? I'm all right. I'm at peace. But, don't worry about that. And the kid is laughing. I says, I think this is one of your friends making a joke that he's going to see you in a little while. And so he's looking at me and he says, do you have a name? I say the name. And he says, that's my friend who just died. I'm leaving here and I'm going over to
funeral.
Casey's. Yeah,
Funeral
for a
parlor.
funeral parlor. It was him talking to him. I
Really?
said, well, honey, the only thing I could tell you, I know you're heartbroken, but he's already at peace.
Yeah, in a better place.
Right? Right? So it was, sometimes it's, people will say, it's surprising and shocking to them. But for me, it's the same way,
Did you ever predict to someone, you're going to win a lot of money or stuff like that?
Yes, just once.
Once?
Because I never really, people will ask me, this one time, a guy came to me and he says, he gets up, the reading was good. He says, I got to ask you one thing. I'm on my way to Atlantic City. I says, I tell you right now, I can't give you, my gift isn't for that. I can't tell you.
Oh,
He
yeah,
says,
no
just tell me
spiritual person or soul will give you information about how to win money.
how to win money. So he turns around, he says, just for the hell of it, give me a letter. I said, oh, you mean like A? I said, oh, like Section A. And he said, Section A? He said, go ahead. And I'm telling him the letter, and I'm telling him numbers. Calls me up from Atlantic City 4 hours later. He won on that machine, and he won big time.
Wow.
But that has never has happened to me.
Usually it doesn't.
No.
I
No.
remember I'm a Reiki master, and when I was in, I took the courses in class,
Yeah.
and one of my co-students went to I guess Atlantic City or something. She says to me, "Reiki doesn't work on the slot machine."
That's cute.
Don't even bother trying.
You gotta laugh. Well, I'll tell you something funny too. When I think back of it now, I'm not a good grandmother. I don't think.
Oh, no.
No, I'm only kidding. I love it. We still hang out together, my 3 grandkids. But it's so funny because I think back of when they lived in the house next door, and we had this little fence that they would come from their yard over to my yard, and my kitchen was there, so they would go up the back stairs because the refrigerator was there, and they'd go right in, take ice cream and all, when
Whatever.
mother told them not to eat dinner, and, I couldn't stop them.
These are your
How could I do
grandchildren.
this? Yeah. So,
That doesn't make you a bad grandmother.
No.
Look ahead.
so I was thinking back of this just recently. I said, oh, my God. What was wrong with me? I'll never forget this one time they came into the freezer to get ice cream. And they're looking because the detectives, when they come to the house, they'll bring article of clothing or whatever sometimes for me to, hold and whatever.
Something that belonged to somebody.
These kids, they're going like this. And they ran right out. So the detectives say, oh, your grandkids, they always come in and
Just
you're
help
not worrying about
themselves?
this? I says, no. They said, we have a skull on the table. They just glanced over and walked out like it was nothing. I said, because they're so used to this.
Yeah.
But when I think back of it, I said, that's crazy that skull was there visible to them.
But well, it wasn't there in physically.
No, it was on the
It
table.
was on the
It was
table.
the real skull.
Oh, it was a real person's
And we
skull?
found that body. We found the rest of the body.
Really?
Yeah, yep, that was.
So where's the
Coney
skull
Island.
now?
I think they had to bring it with the morgue, and they had to.
Oh, they had to
they
take
got the
it.
rest of the body in
Oh, wow.
Coney Island.
I wonder how the skull got separated from the body. Somebody cut the head off?
Oh yeah,
That was how they died?
that's how they died.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. So well,
Yeah.
whatever helps people,
Whatever helps is right, and sometimes they get closure and all that. Before we close, I
Yes.
want you to tell everybody why we have two wolves behind us.
Oh, they're my spirit guides.
They're your
I
spirit
love
guides.
wolves forever, and I just feel.
How do they guide you? Do they
Strength.
talk to you? Do they
Do you
give you
know-
information?
Do you know? It's almost like I call them spirit guides, but they protect me.
Oh, that's good. It's good to have a wolf protecting you.
I always feel like, and they lead me the way because there was a woman who was cut into many pieces in the Bronx,
Ooh.
and the cops had come, and I kept telling them I know who did this, and we have to go in this house in the Bronx, and it's inside a drawer underneath this wood, and we did find it, thank God, whatever.
That was the body in
Yeah,
there?
but it was almost as if that one time, and I never felt it so visible, I felt like they were in the car with me. And
the
as
wolves.
it turns out, who I was saying murdered,
Yeah.
it was her granddaughter. They were in the house next door watching everything I was doing with the police.
The granddaughter murdered the grandmother?
The grandmother,
What
'cause
was
she wanted the
from-
house.
She wanted the house.
Yeah.
What a terrible thing to do. Why don't you just wait? The grandma's not going to live forever.
Isn't that horrible?
If you just wait, just like the lady that
Excuse me.
caused us to have anything that is ingested in a container that is not that's tamper proof. Before that, things weren't tamper proof. She poisoned her husband because she wanted the $100,000 insurance.
Oh, yeah.
And she got caught, and she's spending the rest of her life in jail. So
Yeah.
never got the $100,000.
That was really smart.
Right? But the thing is, though, that she's the reason that this is the way it is. All this tamper-proof packaging, especially with medications. You know what I mean? And it's just that people they do things
Yeah.
without thinking. I mean, if
Okay.
and people do things to themselves like that.
Yeah.
They wind up in jail and they don't get whatever, because a lot of people try to kill people for their insurance
Yeah.
money.
Sometimes sometimes the word stupidity comes up.
Oh, it's definitely a stupid thing to do.
Right.
Because you're going to
What,
get
you
caught,
nuts?
you're going to wind up in jail, and you're not going to see that money, and
Right.
you're not going to live your life the way you want to.
Yeah. Yep.
What are you going to do?
Yep. Yep. Well,
Yeah, so any other stories you can think of before we
I
close?
guess I'll tell you one last story about
One-
this.
This is
It's Padre Pio,
Padre Pio.
but an artist drew it on here.
I want to tell you something. When you see Tommy, he looks like Padre Pio.
No. This should be interesting.
And he admits it, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, but go ahead. Tell us about Padre Pio.
Okay. When I took my grandson, my youngest grandson had never seen me read ever. And we're on the plane. I was bringing him to Italy. And like I said, the two women on the plane, I started to read. So he's like, oh, my God, Nona, I never saw you do this.
How
This
old
is
was
this
he?
happens. It was, he was only 20. He was 19, going on 20.
Oh, so he was
Never
almost
saw
an
me-
adult.
Yep. So it was last June. So anyway, we're sitting there, and I told him, I was explaining that two priests had told me that I have the gift that Padre Pio had. It's It's like prophecy from the Holy Spirit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So he's listening. We go to the town of Assisi. Did you ever go to Assisi?
No, I've never been to
Brown.
Italy, but
Oh,
that's
you
where
gotta
St.
go.
Francis came from.
Yes.
I would love to go to Italy. Yes.
Well, his town it's a circular brick town that you go up.
Okay.
We're going up, and my grandson sees this shop, and he goes, Nona, look at her art. This looks fantastic. And he says, isn't that guy Padre Pio you showed me on the plane? I said, oh, yeah. He says, let's go look. This big, huge, tall woman is coming from the back, and she's looking at him, and she's picking up this cross, and she goes to him. To me, she's going to him, divinity, the gift. I'm not speaking
Being able
too
to
much English.
divine. Yes.
Yeah, and me and him are like,
What's
I
she
was
talking
stunned.
about? Yeah.
I was stunned, and she's going, you, the gift, you need, and she put this around my neck.
She gave you that. Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Amazing. Amazing.
So you can't make this stuff up.
No,
you
you
can't
can't.
make this stuff up,
It's the truth.
right?
It's
Right.
the truth.
Yeah.
So, and that was that with that.
Yeah. So he was like, I guess you do have that gift. How did she know that? I said, I don't know.
Well, she must have a gift too to be able to know that you had a gift.
That's what my husband said.
Yes.
He was behind us, and he said
She had to know
she
something.
Had to know what you did.
That's right.
Isn't
She
that
had to pick up
crazy?
on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So. Yeah.
So, well, anyway, though, our time is just about up, and I want to thank you
Oh, you're
for
welcome.
coming on the show and for giving us such interesting stories.
Oh, good.
I'm sure that the audience enjoyed your
I
stories.
hope so.
Yes.
So. And thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. My pleasure. And you know what I'd like to do sometime, and I'll tell the audience right now because we have a few seconds left.
Yeah.
We're going to do a live call-in one night, okay? And this way people can call in and ask you questions
Oh, okay.
on the phone, and you'll just give them a short little snippet of something. Because I'm going to tell you, when we do a live call-in, the phones don't stop ringing. So you would be able to give maybe people like a minute or two. You know what I mean? But we'll do that one time. In the near future, we will do a live call-in. You hear that, audience? Because I haven't done a live call-in in a long time, years. So we'll do it soon. Keep watching. Take care now, and everybody, good night.
Aw.